Welcome to the next section of the course. In this section, we'll continue to learn more about React fundamentals, including working with lists in React and a special prop called children. In this lesson, I want to show you how we can use the map method on a JavaScript array to return an array of JSX elements. And we're going to use it to refactor our 3 taco cards being rendered in the app component. So first up, just as a quick review of how the map method works in JavaScript. The map method starts off with a basic array, and it can be an array of anything. So for example, let's say I have an array here of a couple numbers. So on a JavaScript array, we have a method called map. And the purpose of map is to perform a consistent operation on every single element from the original array and return the result of that evaluation or that operation in a new array. So the map method is typically used where we want to take a starter array and return a new array of the same length, of the same size, where some consistent operation has been applied to every element. So a classic example that you might learn about is if we have an array of numbers and we want to turn that into an array of the number squares, right? So we want to go across every element and multiply it by itself to get the square. So we want to end up with an array like this, where we have 1, 4, 9. For something like this, the map method is a perfect use case because the map method starts with an original array. It performs some kind of consistent operation on every element, in that case squaring it, and it returns all the results or all the return values in a new array of the same size as the original. So what we can do in React is use the map method on a starter array and produce an array of JSX. Like so. Maybe we start with those numbers and we produce each one, for example, in a list item. And that is something that is totally possible in React. And I'm going to show you how that works in this lesson and how it could be helpful. So the first thing I want to do is before we return JSX in our app component, I want to declare a const called tacos, and this will be an array of objects, and each object will represent a sample taco. So for now, each of our objects will simply have 2 properties, name and image, and as you might guess, those are simply going to correspond to the taco's name and the taco's image. So you can imagine this, for example, as being data that we get from some API. Right now, everything is hard-coded on the front end, but imagine that our app is making a request to a backend that's going to give us this array of the most up-to-date tacos on the menu, as well as their images. The data might look like this. Here's my first object. So I'm going to have a name of Crunchy Taco Supreme, and I'm also going to have an image property, and that image, of course, will be Crunchy Taco Supreme. Then I will have a second object, and the name there will be Doritos Taco Supreme, and it will also have an image property, and this will be set to the Doritos Taco Supreme image from above. Then I will have one more object with a name property set to Soft Taco Supreme, and an image property set to the Soft Taco Supreme image. So let's say we have this array of data, and obviously what we want to do here is we want to create a taco card for every single object within my tacos array. Maybe today my backend will give me this array of 3 tacos, but maybe tomorrow it's going to give me an array of 5 tacos instead. And I want to write code that is going to be flexible enough to adapt to either situation. No matter how many elements my tacos data array has, I want an equal number of taco cards rendered, right? So here's how we're going to use this code to generate the exact same 3 tacos that we currently have in our browser. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove our former taco card instantiations right here, or our taco card renders. So now if I save, nothing appears on the right-hand side, and our tacos array is unused. So here I'm just going to do a line break between my opening and closing div. I want to use the map method on my tacos array. That is a JavaScript operation, so we know in JSX we need to start with the curly braces. Then I'm going to call the tacos array. I'm going to call the map method on it and invoke that method. This is just a basic key JavaScript construct. There's nothing React specific about this. So the way the map method works in JavaScript, of course, is it accepts a callback function. So I'm going to provide an arrow function right here in line. And the method will iterate over every individual element in my array. So in this case, for my arrow function, I'm going to write an arrow function to represent the operation for one taco at a time. So the individual parameter that it's going to receive is just one taco object. So this function will be run, in our case, 3 times, once for each taco. And what I want to specify in the return value of this arrow function is what should be returned in the new array that I'm going to generate from my original tacos array, right? So this is almost going back to the squares example. This is where we might do the logic of taking the number and squaring it. So in this case, what I want to return for each taco that I'm iterating over is a taco card component. So right here, I'm going to return what I want to be the final value in the returned array in this specific element for this specific taco, and I want to render a new taco card, like so. Now, in order to render a taco card, that of course needs 2 props, and that's going to be name and image. So right here, I'm going to provide my name prop, and how am I going to get access to the taco name? Well, this function is going to run once for every iteration or for every element within my tacos array, and I'm going to have access to the specific taco that we're iterating over right here. So if I take that taco object and I know that it has these 2 properties, I can of course reference name right here, and that will give me that string, and that's what I will pass down for my name prop. And similarly, we also need an image prop, and for this one, I will take the current taco that we are iterating over and then access its image prop or image property and pass that down to the image prop. All right, so once again, this function will run 3 times, and what we're gonna get when all of it completes, of course, is an array that looks like this: taco card, taco card, taco card. So it's gonna iterate over this one, it's going to return a taco card with its specific name and image, then iterate over this one and do the same result, create a new taco card, and then iterate over this one and return a new taco card. This is what we're going to end up with, and this is what we're going to attempt to render within our curly braces, right? Now, the beautiful thing about React is that React is totally comfortable with the syntax. So if we give it an array of components or an array of JSX for that matter, it just says, okay, you've given me all these things to render. I'm just going to render them in the order they appear in the array. So it's just going to render 3 taco cards on screen with their respective props. So when I save this, you can see we are exactly back where we were at the beginning of this lesson. So the logic is still being applied. So now we are rendering a taco card for every element in our array. And obviously, if we add another object with its own name and image property to this array, then our interface will expand to have 4 tacos. So the beautiful part about the map method is no matter what the size is of this array, we will always generate the correct number of taco cards for that number of elements in my original array. And that is why this is a common pattern in React. Whenever you are starting with an array of data and you want to render an element on the screen for each element in that original array, the map method is a perfect solution because we just return an array of JSX and React will render all of that JSX in a row. All right, so let me delete this comment right here. And that is all there is to cover in this lesson. So this is an introduction to how we use the map method on a JavaScript array to generate an array of JSX for React to render. That's all there is to cover in this lesson. So I will see you in the next one.